Hello, welcome back to the Marc Drouinaud Show, the tech show about hacking. In today's video, I'm going to cover 7 practical reasons why you should be using virtual machines. You're going to want to stick to the 7th one. It will be a doozy, okay? So without further ado, let's get right into it. We're going dark. Number 1, try new operating systems. So let's say you've been a Windows user. Let's say you've been a Windows user all your life, but you're feeling adventurous and you want to get a taste of Linux. You have several options for trying Linux, including a dual boot setup, but virtualization is a great way to try it out with little risk. On your Windows system, you just need to install VirtualBox or another hypervisor and create a new virtual machine. Then take any Linux installation, ISO, they have Ubuntu or Linux Mint, right? And install it as a virtual machine. Now you can run Linux, the guest operating system, in a window within your Windows system, the host OS, like any other program. If the virtual machine, or VM for short, won't boot for some reason, you can simply recreate the virtual machine and reinstall the operating system. There's no worry of crashing your computer just because you tried an unfamiliar operating system. Number 2, run old or incompatible software. Maybe you switched to using a Mac years ago, but there's one Windows-only piece of software you miss. Or perhaps you need to run an ancient program that doesn't run on Windows 10 anymore. Virtual machines provide a great environment for running software that's not compatible with your current machine. As long as you have access to the installer, you should have no trouble installing it on a virtual operating system.
No way!
Plus, running outdated software in this way is much safer because it's sandboxed inside the virtual machine. Hopefully, you don't have to run Windows XP only software these days, but the option is there in case. If you use VirtualBox for this purpose, make sure you install the guest editions. Doing so allows you to run apps in seamless mode, which puts them side by side with apps on your host operating system. Number 3, develop software for other platforms. Another important use for virtual machines is simplifying the workflow for testing apps and websites across multiple platforms. For example, say you're developing a game that works on both desktop and mobile platforms. You can use emulation to test the various versions right on your computer. Instead of moving installer files back and forth to your phone and other test computers, you can just emulate them. Virtualization also lets you compile to other executable types. Even if you use cross-platform framework, you may only be able to compile app files on Mac and executable files on Windows. Instead of dual booting for every build, virtualization simplifies the process. Sometimes there's no substitute for running apps on real hardware, as emulation isn't perfect. But for many uses, emulation is a convenient way to access other operating systems without much hassle. Number 4, handle potential malware safely. As we've seen, one of the major benefits of a virtual machine is its isolation from your main system. This means you can take security risks that you would normally avoid. For instance, say you want to download a program but are not sure if the site it came from is legitimate. Or maybe you want to put your antivirus to the test without risking an infection getting through. Less practically, maybe you're bored and want to see what a virus does to an operating system. You can even test theories that will break your computer.
No, God!
Like what happens if you delete System32 in Windows. Of course, there's always a small chance that a piece of malware can detect that it's running in a virtual environment and try to break out. While the risk is low, you shouldn't be reckless, okay? Number 5, tear apart your system. If you're particularly tech savvy, virtual machines will allow you to explore and experiment with an operating system without fear of the consequences. This can be an interesting way to learn more about an operating system. For example, you can virtualize a copy of Windows 10 within Windows 10 and use the guest version to tinker with the registry. Maybe you want to learn some Linux commands without fear of accidentally screwing something up. Number 6, take advantage of VM snapshots. Another excellent feature of virtual machines is the ability to create system-level snapshots that you can instantly restore whenever you need. Say you want to install a new app that's untested and possibly unstable, or maybe you want to uninstall a bunch of software you've accumulated over the past few months. Another time, you might want to tweak some system configurations, but in all cases, you're hesitant due to uncertainty about fixing anything that goes wrong. Virtual machine monitors allow you to take a snapshot, which is a complete copy of the virtual machine at any point in time. If something does go wrong, you can restore the snapshot and move on like nothing happened. These backups are thus like a more comprehensive system restore. Best of all, they're saved as single files that you can move and store elsewhere on your host machine. With snapshots as a backup, you can try risky procedures in a virtual machine first so you're prepared to make changes on your main system, and you can copy them to use down the road too. Number 7, and lastly, clone a system to another machine. Since the entire contents of a virtual machine are stored in a few files, you can easily transfer them to another computer and load the virtual machine up without any issues, as long as you use the same hypervisor, of course. For example, VirtualBox stores virtual machine settings in a tiny VBox file. The other main component is a VDI file, which acts as a virtual storage disk. Regardless of which host operating system you originally used, you can copy those files and load them into VirtualBox on another computer. This effectively recreates a copy of your guest system that you can use anywhere. VMware Workstation Player has a related function called vCenter Converter. This lets you take a current non-virtual operating system installation and turn it into a virtual image, which you can then load in VMware Workstation Player on another computer. So those are the reasons why I feel you should be using virtual machines. Do you have better reasons? Do you have reasons why we should not to? I want to know your opinion. Please hit the subscribe button. Please hit the notification bell. I love you. Stay safe. See you on the next video.